here.
Whoop, whoop.
Sometimes I wonder if we should just start here without even introducing. I was listening to My Favorite Murder today, and they just start like there's no introduction ever. It's so funny.
We certainly can.
Oh no, I was just laughing at that. I mean, I need some type of introduction, I'm sure, but
wait till I drop this podcast and then you'll see there is no introduction.
Hell yeah. Oh yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, the editing this week is taken care of by not yours truly, the one and only Robin Steckel.
Who's not in an intro this time. All right, we'll do an intro, Ashley.
Mm-hmm. We'll make it easy for you so you don't have to do any editing. We just have to make no.
Just still need the intro and the outro.
No mistakes here. No mistakes.
No mistakes.
No pressure though.
Our life has plenty of mistakes. I think that's why we love our life.
I have realized that I make a lot of mistakes.
So do I. Tons. But you know what the difference is though, is we learn from our mistakes. That's what it is.
That's true. I will say I haven't made the same mistake twice.
I've made a couple.
I make a lot of mistakes, but yeah, it's but that'll be for another episode. We'll just do a whole episode on like learning from mistakes.
We should. Okay, I'm gonna jot it down.
Put it down.
Learning from mistakes,
and also and not being afraid to make mistakes.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. That part I'll edit out.
This is going to be a hard episode for you to edit already. I can already tell.
What if I leave it all in and nobody knows?
I think you should leave it all in. This is our unedited thoughts.
Unedited building and sustaining your business episode.
I think we should just start a podcast called Unedited where we just talk like we're on the phone.
That's how this idea got started.
I mean,
besides the fact that I wanted a podcast.
That too, but I think we should just call it Unedited.
I'm all about it.
All right, let's do it. That's it. We've renamed the podcast. I've got to go brand it now.
Gosh, we need a new intro, we need a new outro, and we need new hook sound music.
New logos, new everything. Anyways, Robin, what are we talking about this week?
Building a business and sustaining it.
This is such a good topic. And I feel like it's taken us a long time to get to this one.
And I'm surprised because we've had so many business owners. We have been talking a lot about narrowing down what we're talking about, what our focus is, our goal is, what we're looking for. We're looking for personal growth, personal development, and then which market do we really want to go into? And I admit, I thought you were a little crazy. Because I thought,
we all are, aren't we?
We all are just a little bit. But then I thought about it because I really wanted to keep doing, and we have been doing everything because you can do anything. And actually, when you said you wanted to focus a little bit more on business and business development, looking back at all of our drops so far, we have been talking about businesses. We just didn't really realize it.
It's so true. And I think because we want to start doing personal growth, if you think about it, business owners have to have some level of personal growth. They're very self-aware and they're always looking for more. There's just so much. When you're a business owner, you just typically have all the other buckets anyways, because when you're starting a business, you typically also really care about your health, or you really care about, I don't know, meeting all these other random goals. And so it kind of just went hand in hand and we just didn't realize it at the time.
No.
So that's why we're here.
So building your business,
building your business
and sustaining it is really the key.
Yes. And I feel like we've kind of been doing that recently too. I mean, we have a whole podcast that we're going to talk about this upcoming, everyone, about our year in review, because we've passed a year now, right?
We have officially passed a year.
We've officially passed a year once this podcast drops on November 1st. November 1st. Okay. We're here. And so we have a podcast coming out where we're going to talk about just the triumphs, the tribulations, what we've learned, what we've pivoted on. This is just one of the examples of how we've kind of changed the focus of the podcast. But it's interesting to kind of look at the people that we've talked to already and just the similarities. So,
Yeah. What's the biggest theme? I know the biggest theme for me, what I've taken out of
ooh,
our year's worth of interviews with
yeah, let's talk
people.
about it. What's your theme? And I'll start thinking about mine really quick because that's a good question.
Yeah, unedited, by the way.
Yeah.
This is like truly, there's no
we
script for this
we
for
literally
any of them. After the
we
first
did it.
episode was scripted,
Mhm,
but the
mhm.
rest are not. The big takeaway for me is that people struggled.
Yes.
Everybody struggled. And
Mhm.
what I find super interesting is that while people struggled, they overcame their obstacles, they made their businesses successful, and those struggles don't seem so big anymore.
Right.
I find that so inspiring.
I think it's so true. Like it and we I've talked to a couple of people who have talked just about the idea of comfort zones, and it's truly your comfort zone expands every time you step a little bit farther out, and then next thing you know, the things that scared you once are nothing, and you look back and you're like, why was I scared by that? And I feel like you and I have come to that conclusion. Like when we first started, we legitimately were so afraid to just speak in front of a camera. And it's funny because we're both very charismatic people, but it's just something we had never done before. And now we look back and we're like, who cares if we mess up? Like there is nothing better than just someone who is real with themselves. And I think I've learned that too from that's been a big takeaway. I don't know if it's my biggest takeaway, but everyone who we've interviewed is just unapologetically themselves. They have a mission in mind and they go for it, and they just don't care about what other people think, and they're willing to hear no's, they're willing to hear the naysayers, and they just do it anyways. And I love that because for the longest time, and I don't you're well, you care a little bit less about what people think. I sometimes am a little self-conscious. Robin kind of just she's just her. But
I
like
am. I'm
like
me.
I yeah, you are. And it's I used to care a lot about what people thought. And so I always just grew up thinking that things had to be perfect before you just had to there was so you had to do so much research before you did something, and you had to just wait until things were in the perfect, I don't know, set perfect lineup. But I- I've learned that it's not true. Like you just have to have an idea and go with it, and who cares if it's not perfect at the time, because you're going to figure it out.
Mhm.
You're
We
going to
have,
we have.
and we're still growing. Wait until year 5, year 10. We'll
Mhm.
look back on the first year and say, "Oh my gosh." Like I'm super proud of what we've done
I'm
for
so proud.
yeah.
And to
Yeah,
think,
we
I
just
mean,
did it.
yeah, and just think too of all of the things that you hear of overnight successes. There's not many of them. Like most people who start a business did not get so overnight, and so many people get discouraged. And hey, I'm gonna raise my hand. Like I used to be like that so badly, where it's like I got so bored, and if I didn't see immediate results, I thought something was wrong with me. I got bored of it, and that's not the case. Like so many businesses, it takes years to get off the ground. That's why so many of them fail early on, but it's like you have to have that tenacity to get through that. And I've learned that by talking to just so many people.
And the sustainability factor is
Mhm.
it's real. It is real. I think my top 2 things are your team, the people
Mhm.
that you surround yourself with, and what are the new things that you're bringing to your business.
Yeah, I mean, and we talked about this in a previous episode about the idea that there are so many ways with the internet. There's so many ways you can make money. And there you have to remain creative because there's always going to be something new on the horizon, but you have to make yourself relevant, and you have to stay in the know, and you cannot stay stagnant. And we preach on this all the time. Like always wanting to learn, always wanting to be curious, always wanting
Mhm.
to better yourself, and you have to do that with a business. And you have to have a good team too that you can encourage for that. And it's a partnership, because in the end, you know, some people want to get rid of titles, some people want to be on the same playing field, but you do like the owners of the companies also have to be lifted up by the people who they hire, and vice versa. It's important to have a good partnership with the people you put around you. And just like us, I mean, we strategically picked out each other. I mean, granted, we already know we're soulmates, but
Yes.
we talked
We
about
do.
that. We were destined to meet each other. We are in another lifetime. Um, but it's like we choose to surround ourselves with people who can lift us up. And it's like, I wouldn't never choose anyone better than you. I mean, you match my positivity, I match yours. Like, we just know. And I just can't imagine doing this with anybody else. It just
No,
wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't be the same dynamic.
I do think it's hard. And we do have down days, and we do have
Yeah.
days where you're like, you know what? I have zero energy today. I can drink all the Pedialyte I want. And I'm still like, yep, Ashley, nope, not going to do a podcast tonight. I'm really sorry. I'm
We've done
tired.
that several times before. Like,
We have.
had a bad day, not feeling it, or like we're
Yeah.
just saying, hey, I just want to sit on the couch. Like, and
Mhm.
there's nothing wrong with that.
Nope. Or I've gone an entire year without knowing how to edit the YouTube videos or any of our podcasts.
I
And
mean,
then
that's what I'm for.
And then if something goes kaflunky, I'm like, Ashley, fix this. And I thought, wait, the real root here is me.
Well,
I don't know how to fix it. I can't help
yes.
my partner fix it. She's off hiking and camping, and I'm having as much of a meltdown as I'm ever going to have, because that really doesn't happen almost
Well, I mean,
ever.
the thing is, though, I feel like we've created a good partnership, though, because you are definitely, we each have our own talents in this, though. So
Mhm.
yes, I'm good at editing and branding and graphics and stuff, but I feel like you are the person who is better at making the connections. I mean, and that's
It's the
just what it is.
team.
It's
I'm
the
going back to
team.
the team. It is. It's
Yeah.
all about the team and who you have. And it's about communication. We've talked a lot about communication and
And we're
terminology
trying to get better at it too. I'll be honest.
every day.
I'm not the best.
25 years from now, we're still going to say, oh my gosh, Robin, you really should have sent another email out saying, hey, looking forward to talking to you tomorrow night at 6:30 Central.
We just did that the other day.
A couple of times we've done that.
A couple of times.
Or we've
Yeah.
had a scheduling conflict.
Mhm.
I really missed you on the Chris Miles episode.
Yeah.
But we worked it out. We figured it out. We made it work. We made it so that Chris could have a really great podcast.
Yeah.
And it's about the team. It's building the team and then innovation.
I think too, speaking on the Chris Miles things, and we have a whole podcast that we're going to be talking about the idea of making mistakes, but learning from just your experience. I mean, when we started the podcast, again, we had no idea what we were doing. And so when we scheduled people, we did it using only the knowledge we had to do it. And like every single time when we'd have a scheduling conflict, or when our technology wouldn't work, or one of the myriads of things that's happened to us since the podcast has started, you learn from it and you keep going, because in every time we've just increased our efficiency. We've increased, I mean, there's just so much that can be said for learning from what we've experienced so far.
And we do keep going, and it's motivation.
Mm-hmm.
You and I have talked tons about motivation, and motivation comes from within. You're either in or you're out.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's like, do you want to be in? Yeah, but I don't want to do all of the work. Or,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I want to be in, but I don't have all the time this week. Robin, can you take over for a little bit? Or,
Mm-hmm.
Ashley, can you take over for a little bit? It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
We get through it. And what everybody who's successful, they have to have a team of people around them to help make them successful. It's not a solo act.
No, Robin's been my champion, guys. I got rid of Facebook like right when COVID started. She has been so good about just like maintaining that. I blame it on Social Dilemma. So if any of you have not watched that movie, Robin,
It's amazing.
it's amazing.
It makes you think. It
It
makes you stop to think of everything that you do. And I will say, as much as I love Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, I have cut back on Facebook quite a bit, not because of any real reason, but because of the Social Dilemma.
When they said, I don't remember the exact quote, but one of the quotes is, "We are the product." Like in the end, for these businesses, we're not buying their products. We are the product. And I got immediate chills. Like, it's so true. That's a little aside, but if you haven't seen The Social Dilemma, I highly recommend it. Be prepared to delete all of your apps. I was telling Robin the other day, I had 6 pages of apps on my phone. I am now down to a half a page because of that movie.
It's powerful.
It's very powerful. That, and also, one more aside before we get back on track, but I was hiking the other day in East Tennessee, and me and my friend Leah were just walking through this beautiful forest, and I came up the quote, a tree dead is worth more than one alive. I got, or what was it? Like one tree dead is worth more than 10 alive. It really struck me. It's basically saying that, we pride, like, we pride a dead tree like for its paper and its worth, other than, than 10 trees that are producing oxygen. Anyways, it just gave me chills again. But
So basically, the products of Facebook,
mhm,
are more important than our lives,
our
basically.
lives, yeah, yeah, that it's hard. But I will say, as a business too, it's hard to balance that, wouldn't you say? Like, does it worry you sometimes, the idea of, like, I know a lot of business owners or people who are starting businesses are really worried about the idea of balancing their home and life. And I think it's hard to do that for the first few years. We've experienced it too, but it's all about making sacrifices, I think. You
Mhm.
have to be willing to. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to think of, like, Jeff Bannock. He was
Mhm.
our first guest on the show.
That's crazy. It feels like so long ago.
Yeah,
Great
he's
first
a
episode too, or first interview.
yeah, he's a mover and a shaker, and he's doing things. He's doing innovative things. He's moving to different cities to get a different perspective and looking at different looking at different things in different ways to continue on his business. And I think of Martin Semrad, the facial and body expert, thinking about how he's starting his job or starting his business and starting. I follow him on Instagram. Well, we both follow him on
He's
Instagram.
so good at posting.
He is,
His content's great.
and you talk to him quite frequently too.
Mhm.
Still,
Yeah, we talk probably once a week
yeah.
still.
And how he's doing it and how he's using social media, but how he's starting a new course that I noticed. They're doing a free
Yeah.
webinar.
Ooh,
That's
when was
coming up.
that? I saw that and I forgot to put it in my calendar.
Yep.
Probably
It's
some
European time.
Yeah, I was about to say
So
it's probably in Europe.
yeah. So if we
Dang
can
it.
figure out the
We
time
should
difference
go.
there.
Uh,
Yeah. And
she
Sam Rembold, she started her business, something pops. I can't remember what the first
well,
business.
yeah, Wax Pops was the first one.
Yep. And now it's Fancy
And then
Sips.
yeah,
She's
the Nashville Cocoa Bar, and now Fancy Sips.
Yeah. Yeah. And how she's hired employees to help run the business. She had
Multiple employees, like
multi
4 employees. I think, just an aside, I mean, it's not quite an aside, but I think Martin and Sam are 2 wonderful examples of what it looks like to adapt to change very quickly. Because just seeing Sam, and they just, by the way, follow Fancy Sips on Instagram. They just hit 3,000 followers. Shout out. Um, but she's a perfect example of, she started Fancy Sips doing, a lot of them were in-person classes, and then there was a few virtual classes, and then once COVID hit, those online classes took off, and she just had started doing them right before COVID. And so she had basically positioned herself into the most perfect situation ever. And look at what she's done. She is able to literally hire 4 people in a pandemic, when a lot of companies were laying off people. She was hiring them, and
yes.
is hiring them. Like, it's so cool. And then you take Martin, for instance, who does body and facial what do we call it? Facial recognition, body and
Yeah.
facial
Facial expressions.
expressions
Mm.
expert, and originally started doing things about interviews, all of that. But he's been able to pivot as well, and he does classes on what it's like to read expressions with a mask
Mhm.
on, and how do you create lasting an impression in an interview, because a lot of people were laid off. And so he's like, okay, thinking ahead. It's that idea of, what am I experiencing now, and what is that going to look like 3 months from now, because a lot of people got laid off. People are going to need to know how to get rehired for an interview. It's just, that
Yeah.
they're great examples of just ingenuity in times when there's a lot of uncertainty.
Well, and look at Dr. Laura and John Harrington, our last podcast, talk about sustainability
Mm-hmm.
and innovation as well.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Laura is seriously, she runs the galaxy because that woman is
Runs.
always coming up with new things. She just had her first guests in her Airbnb that she did on her ranch. Yeah, super super cool. John Harrington started up the brewery or the beer recipe that used to be
Oh,
in the Old Monarch years and years ago. So taking things, a great business that's already there, and how do you continually add to it, and how do you make it valuable
yeah.
to your consumers? And all of our guests have done that. There's not one guest that has not done that to any of the business niches that they serve.
I think it's interesting too. I mean, we've talked with this with every business owner we've talked with, but the idea that they have multiple sources of income, and that's a huge thing for business owners. And I think just something to keep in mind when we're looking at what success is. It's like there are times when you can coast, and we were just talking about this before the podcast about how my idea of success one day is just to be making so much passive income that I don't have to work, because I don't want to have to actively work towards anything. But it's causing or creating those other sense of passive income if that's what you want, and following it, and if it's what you're passionate about, I guess.
Yeah. Is so I'm still on sustainability.
Mm-hmm.
In the guests that we've had on. So Mark Sukamil,
Mm-hmm.
he is the gentleman that runs 100 miles every month. And
Crazy.
how does he continue? Although it's not a business, although he did start a business.
He did.
Yes.
Again with
How
these
does
connections.
Yep. How does he continue to run 100 miles every month? What motivates him? What keeps him going? Is it internal? Is it his family that's cheering him on? Of course it is. But
Mm-hmm.
what makes people be able to sustain what they're doing, whether it's a business or whether it's running? I find that very
Well, that leads me to the question, what
inspiring.
sustains you, Robin? Like what's an example of what sustains you in your passions? I'm interested to know.
Yeah, I, like you, soul sisters,
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in everything. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you're going to have to try really, really hard to find something that doesn't interest me. There's nothing that's simple. You look at the plants behind you and look at all of the biology and all of the science that goes into how a
I was
plant grows,
Yeah.
or how are clothes made, or how do you how it's made, the show on TV. I'm sure
Love it.
almost all of our listeners have watched it, at least in the United States, because we do have a global following, which is amazing and we love it. I'm always interested. I am a continual learner. I will be learning all the days until the day I am no longer here. I will still be learning.
Mm-hmm.
It's I'm always interested in the knowledge, and I will never be an expert, I don't think, at really one or two things, but I'll know a little bit about everything.
Where do you think that comes from, though?
Just the curiosity.
Yeah, where does that
Um,
come from? I'm
I don't
so
know.
Yeah,
You have it too, though.
I do. And that's why I sometimes wonder where that comes from, because I think it's just internal. Like I don't know that it's caused by anything other than just my nature. I don't know. I was literally just talking with someone else about this, just the whole idea of like where it comes from. And I know, because I feel like what sustains me and what keeps me going is just like this idea that like just certain ideas. I mean, that I'm here to create a change in my life, and or in everyone's life. Like I feel like I'm meant to, I don't know, I feel like my curiosity is caused by this idea that I'm meant to do something more in life. And so try out everything, and then eventually the thing that is meant for me will find me, kind of thing. I don't know, but I
Yeah.
truly don't know. It's just deep inside. It's like a soul searching kind of thing.
Yeah, I find just so many things so interesting. And it's kind of what you and I talked about is the difference between what makes us continual learners and then what recharges our batteries.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And
Okay.
then Yes.
What
And
recharges your batteries?
I think being outside, nature, spending time with loved ones,
Mm-hmm.
reading. It's never ending. It's a never ending list of what recharges my batteries. The
Mm-hmm.
water. I
Mm-hmm.
love the water. When we went kayaking twice, um, because the first time we got kicked off the lake, even though I
I
wasn't having
did.
it.
I
Yeah.
got kicked off the lake. You could have stayed on the lake, but you weren't going to get struck by lightning.
No, no, I was
It
not.
was really bad.
I would never leave you out
I
standing
know.
on the side of the
That was a
lake.
wild day, though. I actually really want to go back to Wisconsin very badly.
Wisconsin's amazing.
It was really fun.
Um, anyway, back to you were saying that you were talking to somebody about, was it more nature versus nurture?
Yeah, we were talking about nature versus nurture. I actually had two conversations with two different people the last, like, I've been very into that recently. Just like what causes people to be the way that they are. Like that's more of a cerebral question, but I was just like, what? Why are people the way that they are? Why do we have the personalities that we have? Like, do we have them because, like, are we more shy because our parents kind of raised us that way? Or are there just people that are literally born shy? And it's true. And part of me, the person I talked with yesterday about this, theorized that it's nature. And then the person I talked to the day before that was nurture. And I think it's a little bit of both because me and my brother are very different, but we were raised in the same household with the same parents. So maybe it is nature, but at the same time, I feel like there are a lot of people that it's you could take the same person, put them in a different house, and they would be different. So it's so hard. That's the age old question.
It is. And ironically enough, Pam and I were just talking about that this weekend.
What?
And she asked me the same
Soul
question.
sisters.
Yes. Is it nature or nurture? And I said, I think it's nature. I think
Mm-hmm.
I was born happy. I was born a positive thinker. I was born a forward thinker. I was born just very optimistic. And I don't have a brother or sister, so I can't compare to anybody. What do you think?
I think
I
it's a
mean,
little.
I know you just said a little bit of both, but then
Yeah, I think it's I think it's a little bit of both, but I think it's mostly nature. That I don't know. That's someone's gonna come after me for that, but I don't know. Like I just believe that you're born a certain way, and then when you get put into situations where you are nurtured, it can kind of lead you differently. But for the most part, like you said, I've always been a positive person. Was born a very happy kid. Although my parents might disagree. They said I cried a lot as a kid, but maybe I just felt a lot of emotions. I don't know. But I've always been happy since I was able to like talk. And I feel like my upbringing didn't really change that in me. You know, like I've always been that way and it really hasn't changed. And I feel like if nurture had something to do with it, it would have had to be really, really young because it hasn't happened since I've been like this since I was at least 3. So it's just, I don't know.
yeah, because now I think about it, I had very positive, strong women role models in my
Mm-hmm.
life. So was it the nature that I was born with plus having role models that were strong, well educated? I
Who knows?
don't know.
I think we'll never know the answer to that question. And we should probably, who would be in charge? Not who would be in charge, but what researcher looks into that? Is that a psychologist? A
I believe
therapist?
so.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Nature. Okay, I'm writing this one down too,
Okay.
team. Nature versus nurture.
That's just fascinating to me,
It
though.
is, yes, I love it. I absolutely love it. Okay, sustainability. What else do we need to discuss? I want to know what our listeners think
Yeah.
about building a business and what do you think makes a company, an organization sustainable?
Hmm. I think it has to do a lot with the mission.
Oh,
That's my thing. We've been talking about this recently at my company. We're getting into like the business development and next 5-year goals. And so I've been attending a lot of those meetings recently, and they always keep coming back to the mission. Like, what is the mission? Because in the end, whatever we do, every single thing, every move that we make, every relationship that we oh God, what is the word I'm looking?
Foster.
Yeah, every relationship that we foster, if it doesn't line up with the mission, then we don't want it. Like it has to be that. And the way we sustain it is if we see ourselves starting to veer off in the wrong direction, and if we see ourselves and catch ourselves ahead of time, that's how we sustain it. And I think that's how my company has gotten so far is I can't remember the exact number they used the other day, but we've grown over double in like the last 3 years just because we've fine-tuned our mission and figured out what's important to us. And a lot of times it's the people and the clients, and it's our people, our employees first, and then the client second. And it's worked out really well. And we just realized that we just cut off all the fluff. You don't need it. It's what are we passionate about, and how do we reach for that every single day? I don't know. What do you think?
I think your company is amazing, by the way.
They're great.
I was
They're fun.
I was impressed even when you went to interview.
Mhm.
I thought they were in a remarkable company. Um, yeah, I think it is too. I think it is. The company that I work for is really about strategic planning.
Mhm.
And is the work that we're doing, does that revolve around the strategic plan? Because if not, we're back to waste and fluff.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy your company's thought process about employees first and clients second.
Mhm.
You can't have great relationships with your clients if your
Mhm.
employees aren't top notch, feeling great, healthy,
Mhm.
energized, and ready to go.
I go into work every single day so excited to see my coworkers. It is I will say today was a great day. Literally, we haven't been going into the office very much. It's just me and a few others when there's normally about 30 of us. And there were like 6 of us today, which is a lot. That's double that normally isn't there. We turned on some music and we were singing Love Shack today, and it was hilarious to hear. I would sing a part, then there would be a guy across the way and he'd go, Love Shack. Like, and it was so funny. It just listening to engineers hit falsettos is the most hilarious thing you've ever heard. But it really reminded me, I was like, this is why our company does well, is because we all love what we do. Like, we are so excited about what we do. And that's why we're able to sustain, because our people stay where they are. They get good at what they do because they love going into work. Like, they love it. And it just made me so it gave me the warm and fuzzies today. I don't know. That was just such a great day.
That is awesome. That
It
is
was
so
cute.
exciting. It
Yeah.
is. You have to have fun at work.
Yeah, and you do too. I mean, your people I feel like are on the same page as you too, and it's you have a great team around you that all kind of have the same vision. And if you didn't, it would make it a pretty miserable place, and it also just it wouldn't be the same, and you wouldn't have those successes and remaining such a relevant business in your industry. I mean, you're huge. So,
Yeah, I recently what we've been doing for COVID is we were doing some team lunch outings once a month, and
mhm.
it was really just too cold this past Monday here in Wisconsin.
Mhm.
We had a bit of a cold snap. What we decided to do was do a virtual Zoom team, or we have WebEx, but a WebEx team lunch, and
Mhm.
everybody could see everybody on the grid view. And one of our teammates just got married, and he showed his
Fun.
wedding pictures, and I felt like I was still right there with everybody, and we all were
Yeah.
commenting and, "Oh, she's beautiful," and, "What a great picture that is," and, "You guys had a
Yeah.
beautiful day," and it was still connecting even though we were remote, and that's really
Mhm.
what makes it fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been hard to do it in COVID too. And I think a lot of businesses are struggling. I know even my company culture is our big thing. Like, our culture is what we have a lot of people that say that's what brought them to where they are now, is it's the people. And it's hard when a lot of companies are talking about not going back, and we don't know what we're going to do in a few months, but how do you remain how do you have keep the culture part of it when no one can see each other? Because
We do it on
that's
via
ho
WebEx.
yeah, I mean, it's Zoom, but it's not the same. I know a lot of people are really sad that they can't see people in person, and so it's just gonna change the way things are done if people don't go back. it's different because you know your coworkers. Imagine people who are getting hiring on new who don't get to see them. It's just a different way. So a lot of companies that have been sustainable for years and years and years, I'm interested to see how they sustain themselves in a new normal, because it's changing the way that we're
That
doing
is
things.
interesting. The previous job that I had before the one I'm currently in, I did manage remote workers.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really before even webcams.
Mm-hmm.
And I could tell you, probably still to this day, for the most part, who the voices were. I knew what their names were and
That's
what their
amazing.
jobs were. They knew that they had metrics to hit, and we worked through things on calls, but they were remote. So for me, this is normal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm used to this. And there's a lot more people out there that I think are used to remote working than what the media is portraying. So I do think that
Yeah.
companies that aren't used to remote workers will find out that they are just as successful and just as productive as they were before. It's
Mm-hmm.
just doing something different.
Yeah. It's been interesting for our group, especially one of the things I've been working with recently is just working on the business development, getting new business, where a lot of that is like a lot of face-to-face meetings, and we're not able to do that. A lot of our businesses we get through conferences, and so they're not having conferences anymore. So we're not able to just get that face-to-face time. So we're having to get really creative about what we're doing. And it's exciting though. I love getting to attend the meetings and seeing and putting input on what are we going to do to keep new business coming in when we don't have our bread and butter to go to anymore. Like it's been really interesting. And I'm so new that it is fun because I have a lot of perspectives they never heard before because I don't know anything about it. And so I'll just throw out anything. Just like, what
Here's
about
what we're
this?
going to do.
Yeah, what about this? We haven't talked about this yet. And they can say yes, yay or nay to it, but it's very interesting.
Yeah, it is. Anything else before we wrap it up?
No, I don't. I'm just excited to see. Well, speaking of just sustaining, I'm just really looking forward to talking with you guys about our year in review
Yes, I cannot
coming
wait.
up. It's gonna be super fun.
Yes.
Other than that, that's all I've got.
And this podcast will drop November 1st, as Ashley already said.
Mhm.
And our next guest on building a business and sustaining the business will drop on November the 15th. And we need to figure out when we're going to drop the year in review. We haven't even
I think
talked about it.
I know it's probably gonna have to be a mini-sode. If I
Yeah,
had
we'll do
to
a
guess,
mini-sode.
we'll do a mini-sode. But other than that, you guys are gonna love November 15th's guest. He is awesome.
He is awesome. I was so excited.
I know. We're not gonna say who it is. We'll tease it later, but they're all people that Robin is a mega fan of though.
Yeah.
Everyone.
I didn't know Martin though, but you were a
That's
mega
true.
fan of
I was a
Martin.
mega fan of Martin though.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Well, all of our guests are amazing. I mean,
They are.
honestly, they really are amazing people, and everybody has such a unique story.
Yes.
None of the business stories are the same.
Never. Yeah, it's been really eye-opening to meet everyone and to hear all the different stories of success. Every single one of them is successful in their own right, and they did not get there the same way. And it's very encouraging to hear things like that because it makes you realize that there is no set formula to success. There's some habits that you can create that get you there, but don't feel discouraged if you're not there yet because your story is just going to be another one of those successful stories that's not the same as theirs. So I love it.
Exactly. And I'm thrilled that you and I get to deliver these wonderful
Yeah.
people to all of our listeners.
I agree. It's been so super fun. So thank you for letting us do that to you guys.
Yes.
All right. Well, we will see you again on November 15th. Until then, stay awesome.
And keep reaching for your anything.
Bye, guys.
Bye.